Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a story that shook the foundations of wealth, marriage, and pride. A story not about money, but about the cost of secrets. In a city that never slept, where billionaires ruled the skyline and diamonds glittered on every wrist, there lived Alexander Graves, a man the world envied. He was tall, handsome, and impossibly rich. His empire stretched across continents, his name adorned charity galas and luxury towers. But behind that perfectly tailored suit and those calm eyes, he carried something else, a lie heavy enough to break him. That morning began like any other. The chauffeur opened the door to his Rolls-Royce. But instead of his usual confidence, Alexander stepped out holding a woman's handbag. Not his wife's. The world might not have noticed, but a few pairs of eyes did, cameras, curious glances, the beginning of gossip. The woman beside him, Sophia, wasn't just anyone. She was his mistress, a PR consultant whose beauty could silence a room and whose charm could make even guilt look like love. Alexander carried her bag not because it was heavy, but because he was trying to hide it. He feared being seen as cruel, even in sin. But fate, my friends, has a cruel sense of timing. As he placed the bag into the trunk, a familiar voice froze him. Alexander, whose bag is that? The air around them turned cold. Even the gentle hum of the city seemed to pause, holding its breath. Elena Graves, the billionaire's wife, stood by her car, wrapped in grace and silence. Her face carried no anger yet, only knowledge. She had seen the bag before. Not in her closet, not in a boutique, but in a tabloid photo, weeks ago, hanging from the arm of a woman who wasn't her. Sophia. Alexander's pulse thundered in his ears. He tried to speak, to twist the truth into something acceptable. Elena, this isn't what it looks like. But lies tremble before a woman who has already known pain. Alexander, she interrupted softly, you're holding her bag. I don't need an explanation. I just need to know, how long? His throat went dry. Sophia, standing behind him, froze, her confidence melting into shame. The same lips that once whispered power into Alexander's ear now stayed shut, knowing the cost of every word. Elena didn't shout, she didn't cry, she simply smiled, the kind of smile that comes from years of learning how to look strong when your world collapses. She turned to leave, her heels striking the marble floor like the sound of judgment. But just then, the universe decided to play its cruelest card. The doors of the hotel lobby swung open, reporters. Dozens of them. Flashes exploded like lightning. Mr. Graves. Who is she? Is that your mistress? Mrs. Graves, how do you feel about your husband's affair? Alexander stood still, his empire suddenly fragile, like glass underfoot. Every secret meeting, every whispered message, every touch in the dark, it all collapsed into a single click of a camera. Sophia grabbed her sunglasses, terrified. Elena stood still, chin high, letting the cameras feast on her heartbreak. That day, she became a symbol, the betrayed queen of the richest man in the city. Later that night, social media burned with scandal. Headlines screamed, greater than, billionaire caught with mistress, wife confronts him in public. The bag that exposed the affair. Alexander watched it unfold on the massive screen in his penthouse, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. He had money, power, private jets, but not peace. And for the first time in his life, the billionaire who had everything couldn't buy the one thing he needed most. Forgiveness. He stared at the city lights through his window, his reflection mocking him. Beside the untouched drink sat that same handbag, silent, expensive, and cursed. Because sometimes, the smallest object tells the biggest story. And that bag, my friends, carried not just perfume and lipstick. It carried the weight of betrayal. Scandal moves faster than truth. Within 24 hours, every news channel in the city had plastered Alexander's name across glowing screens. Every business partner wanted a statement. Every investor wanted assurance. But what Alexander needed was silence. He sat in his office, lights dimmed, staring at the bag that ruined his kingdom. It sat on his desk like a verdict. Then, the soft click of the door. It was Sophia, the mistress, the woman the world now hated. Her eyes were swollen, her voice quiet. She closed the door gently, as though trying not to wake the ghost of what they once were. Alex, she whispered, I didn't mean for it to happen this way. He looked up, face hard, voice hoarse. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to destroy my life for a few moments of pretending? Sophia took a trembling step closer. Pretending. Don't call what we had pretending. You told me you loved me. He closed his eyes. That word, love, sounded heavy, false, poisonous. Maybe it had been true in secret. Maybe it had just been loneliness dressed as passion. He didn't even know anymore. Sophia sat across from him, her perfume faintly familiar, once intoxicating. I didn't chase your money, she said. I fell for the man who made me feel seen. The one who called me at midnight just to talk. The one who said his wife never looked at him that way anymore. Silence. He wanted to shout, to deny it, but he couldn't. Because he had said those words. He had told lies in the language of love. Sophia continued, her voice breaking. Now I've lost everything too. My job, my reputation. They call me a gold digger, a homewrecker. But no one knows I was the one who told the press first. Alexander's head snapped up. You did what? Tears streamed down her cheeks. Yes, I told them. Because I thought, maybe if it's public, you'll have to choose. You'll have to choose me. The truth hit him like a storm. All the power, all the control he thought he had, gone. The woman he had betrayed his wife for, had betrayed him too. He stood up slowly, fury trembling in every word. Do you even realize what you've done? You didn't just end an affair. You ended my career, my name, my family. Sophia wiped her tears and whispered, you ended it the day you stopped being honest. The words sliced deep. He couldn't reply, because, in that moment, he knew she was right. She turned to leave, pausing at the door. For what it's worth, I loved you. Not the billionaire, not the power, just you. And then she was gone. The door closed with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. Alexander sank into his chair, staring at the skyline of the city he once owned. In the reflection of the glass, he didn't see a king anymore. He saw a man, alone, haunted, hollow. That night, as the world mocked him, he realized the truth that all sinners learn too late. You can hide your lies behind money, but you can't bury guilt in gold. And the next morning, as dawn broke over the city, Elena, his wife, was waiting for him in the boardroom. The boardroom was silent. Morning light poured through the tall glass windows, painting golden lines across the marble floor. Alexander walked in, his once commanding stride now hesitant. The executives avoided his eyes. The scandal had already reached every corner of his empire. His billion-dollar name had become a trending shame. At the head of the table sat Elena Graves, his wife, his partner, the woman he had underestimated. She looked poised, her face unreadable, dressed in a simple black suit. No tears, no trembling, just a calm that made every man in that room nervous. Alexander took his seat beside her, trying to read her expression. Elena, she raised a hand. Save it, she said. We're here for business. She turned to the executives. Effective immediately, she began, her tone sharp and clear. Alexander Graves will step down as CEO of Graves Enterprises. I will be taking over as interim chairwoman. A murmur spread across the table. Alexander's eyes widened. You can't just. Yes, I can, she interrupted. You signed joint ownership papers 5 years ago. Remember, the day you said you trusted me more than anyone. Her words landed like cold steel. He remembered. It was the day he wanted to impress her after a charity gala, the same charm he later used on Sophia. Now, that very trust he once flaunted had become his undoing. Elena, please, he said quietly, leaning forward. Don't do this. Not here. She looked at him for a long moment, her gaze cutting through him like glass. You embarrassed me in public, Alexander. You carried another woman's bag in broad daylight while the world watched. Now, I'm carrying your empire out of the fire you started. The executives exchanged uneasy glances. No one dared to interfere. Elena continued, voice steady but heavy with emotion. I spent years standing beside you, not because of your money, but because I believed in the man behind it. I built this company with you, piece by piece. While you were chasing attention, I was keeping your name clean. Alexander bowed his head, shame tightening his throat. Elena, I never meant to hurt you. She smiled sadly. I know. But you did anyway. And now you'll learn what it feels like to lose something priceless, not through hatred, but through consequence. Then she stood, gathering her papers, ready to leave. Before walking out, she turned one last time. By the way, she said, her tone soft but deadly, I spoke to Sophia. Alexander froze. What did she say? Alina's eyes met his. She told me the truth. All of it. About how lonely you were. About how she thought you'd choose her. And you know what I told her? He didn't answer. He couldn't. I told her she was right about one thing. You do need saving. But not from loneliness, Alexander. From yourself. And with that, she walked out, graceful, powerful, free. That night, the billionaire sat alone in the mansion that once echoed with laughter and luxury.